Hello, everybody, and welcome to this session of Guildmaster Gaming. Today, we are going to be talking about their movie Framed with the writer-director Sam Schlenker and the lead actor Craig Watkinson. So, Sam, please tell us about yourself and your film.
Of course. Thank you for having us, by the way, Dan.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
This is very exciting to talk about a 7-minute short film. It's rare, I feel, and feels like we're giving a lot of import to something that's very short. But yeah, so I'm a writer and director and editor based out of Los Angeles, and we made this short film called Framed, which is it's actually hard to describe genre-wise, and I never have ever figured out how to simply describe it or pitch it to people. But it is a dark comedy that starts as the most tragic, serious film festival drama, possible, and very quickly becomes the silliest possible thing we could make. And is a little bit, it has a little bit of kind of sketch humor in it, but I think is a short film. And a lot of that is thanks to Craig giving a very, very committed and real performance in it, which it makes it extra funny to me. But bringing it just like a really good performance to something that could be could feel so silly and like a sketch basically. And yeah, that's the film. Do you want me to give away more specifics?
If you want, or if you want, I have actually the synopsis here from the Film Quest. Uh,
Sure. Oh, perfect. That's even
so
better.
yeah, and I'll kind of go into what you're saying. They have it listed as a comedy and the beyond.
Hmm.
Is the genre kind of going. John, played by Craig, a man with nothing left to live for, considers whether or not to end it all, but he can't make up his mind thanks to an enormous collection of increasingly persuasive and conveniently placed photographs.
Yeah, that that sums it up.
You wrote
Yeah,
that, right?
yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah. I can give a little more background. So, basically, what was it, 2017 or so. So, not as I was still fairly young and fresh out of college. I
Oh,
made
spoken like
it
somebody in their 30s when I was still fairly young.
when I was still
Jesus
fairly young.
Christ.
I know. Uh, Basically, my wife, who was then my girlfriend, now wife, and I made a short film that was very silly and same thing. Could have been a sketch. Almost was a sketch, but was treated seriously. And we got into a few film festivals, and I had this experience of sitting in these blocks of short films that were assorted genres, and you'd get a new film would start, nothing about it, everyone's just there for their film, and a film starts and it might be the broadest comedy you've ever seen, or it might be a really serious, dark, depressing drama. It could, or anything in between. And you kind of don't know. And there's this fun like waiting game of being like, okay, what is this? We see someone crying in their car. Okay, where are we headed with this? And then you figure it out. And usually the movie ends not too long after that. And I had this idea of like, what if we just deliberately played with that a little bit and made something that would just be, for me, really fun to go see in a festival, and something that is that's the whole point. Is like, can we kind of take everyone on a genre ride here, and and have some fun with it. And I had for a long time had this thing. I don't know why my mind went to this, but Craig and I had actually talked about this trope in movies and shows where people pick up a photo of the thing they're thinking about and often rub it with their thumb. And it's like, and I get it. It's like your ex things haven't been the same since your father left. And then, of course, there's the photo of the father right there. Oh, and you pick it up and run, anyway. And the thumb, of course, which Craig brought, actually. So all this to say, I was already thinking about that. And then, and I was like, that kind of came to mind. And when I was in school, we had a really early, like a 101 level class where we had to make a short film, silent short film about a character going through a moment of decision. And there were two different guys in the class who made a different, more or less the same film, a slight variation on a man standing at his desk contemplating suicide, but then he picks up a photo of his family and decides not to. And and somehow it all just kind of like came together. It's like, oh man, if we could do, that kind of setup, and then we just keep introducing more and more photos, and he just keeps changing his mind, and just see how long and far we can take that. That then it started coming together, and I sent, kind of wrote up something quick, and I sent it to Craig, who I had met. He acted in my senior thesis when I was in school at Chapman University, and I sent it to him, and he was like, "Oh yeah," and a director once asked me to rub my thumb over a photo, and I was like, "Oh, rub the thumb? Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah." Added it, and then yeah, and then we had the idea. I think it was pre-pandemic. It was like 2019, I think, is when I first wrote it and sent it to him. We planned to shoot it in early 2020, and then that didn't happen. And then, life stuff, work and life, and fast forward a few years of kind of like, someday we're going to make this, and then we finally made it. And, we shot it, and then sat on it a little while, and then so it's finally, it actually had its world premiere was Film Quest. So it is this weird thing where it feels like such a, a very small project, although it wasn't unambitious. It kind of gets bigger in scale than I think you'd expect it to be, but it still
Especially
was.
some of those pictures that are in the bigger than scale.
Still that, yeah, no, there was an idea, with each new photo that he picks up that changes his mind. They're almost like an angel and devil on his shoulder kind of idea with each one. But the joke we had was like each one has to be larger. And they go from picking them up off the desk to pulling them off the wall to and without giving too much away, I mean, we built an 8 foot by 5 foot like gold framed picture.
Basically a billboard. It's basically a
Right.
billboard. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. But yeah, but again, I think a big thing for us was Craig just playing it totally straight. I think was our main goal. Was like somehow it seemed to make sense to just like be really committed and play it like it's not a joke from basically the whole time, and you just absolutely nailed it.
You're
And
very funny.
and it makes me laugh. Some of your very somber reactions to seeing some of these very silly things makes me so happy. Um,
The echoey woof.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so Sam, you've told us about yourself and you gave us a little bit about the film and actually the background of where this all came from. So,
Mhm.
Craig, let me turn it over to you. Please tell us about yourself. And when you heard about this, I mean, because I'm going to kind of throw this out that I thought it was you get a great opportunity to play a range
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
characters. So, what was your inspiration to how to pull that all together for you, along with
Well,
telling about yourself?
okay. Well, I grew up on the East Coast. I was like just a, teenager around the time of like, blockbuster videos. And so high school was just girls and movies. I would just worked at Blockbuster and then you'd get off at 11 and you'd take three movies home and you'd watch them till the sun came up and then you'd go in the next day and, just kind of discovering like Taxi Driver and Five Easy Pieces and just having your mind blown. And so I went to college for acting, moved to New York, moved out here. Um, then I sort of retired from acting to teach, and then I sort of retired from teaching to act, and then I sort of went back. But I met Sam, I guess about 11 years ago, working on the Ghostwriter in Love, and then we I know we did the music video.
Yeah,
And
we did a music
yeah,
video.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then it's in the last, off and on for the last 30 years of acting, I've probably done about 100 things, and there's something about, I mean, a lot of it's just like when you read something, it's just not good. So you're like, oh, I don't want to do that because it's not good. And then, the other half of your life as an actor is, oh, this is really great. I'm never going to get this because there's just too many human beings on Earth. Um, but yeah, he sent me the script and it was amazing. And he said, "You want to do it?" I said, "Yeah, I want to do it." And then that challenge is the fun part. I was thinking about there was a film I did, or actually no, it started off as a film and then they made like a web series out of it. But um, in terms of degree of difficulty, there was a scene where I was a British as the bad guy, his British accent, but then you find out later that he's German. And in this one scene, I'm walking away from a house, and the house blows up, and my kid is in it, and it's a kind of comedy too because it sounds hilarious, just like the suicide thing. Um,
Uh,
but there was this thing where, and then I turn around, and the camera's on this dolly, and it like whips up to me, and it's like I had to like scream out this line in German, and like I don't speak German, and I just could not phonetically get it down. But it was like the effect, the sounds, and the lights, and then the turning it around to the timing it to the movement of the dolly, and like actually feeling the emotion, but figuring out how to make it funny. And then the German, and it was just like, man, you know, there's something when I'm like, all right, this is, it's not just like, I don't know, hello, how are you? And I remember reading the script and liking it so much and getting the tone, but also like, I don't know, sometimes if you do it like Sam said, if it was slapsticky, it wouldn't be funny. And if it's too straight, it's not funny either. So it's like finding the what is it that makes it funny. Like I watch, Will Ferrell. Like you watch him say something. He could say, "Can I have that sandwich?" And you're in stitches. And I don't know why. It's just like you can analyze it, but if you analyze it too much, then it's not funny. So it was like kind of that thing of, you know, um, wanting it to work. And then, what I enjoyed about you, Sam, is that you guide with a gentle hand. You're not a lot of directors that they know what they want, and you're kind of the puppet, do this, stand here, turn your head down, and others will want what they want, and then they'll kind of pretend to let you move around, and then they're like, why try this one? But I knew that you definitely had a vision for it, which you want from a director, but also were open to, or what do you think about this, or how do you think that would work? I think having already worked together a couple times, and having known you for a while, it was like it was easier. Um, and no other stupid actors to have to deal with.
there weren't any actually.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
yeah.
just Craig on the
Disembodied
set.
voices. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did, by the way, the voice of my daughter in it was actually my daughter. And I told her at a
Mm.
point, I'm like, hey, so if when this goes on IMDb, people will know that you've been in a movie. And she said, no, I don't want my name on it. I don't want to be famous. And I thought, well, if there
Well,
is one way to fame, it's having a
yeah.
voice job in a short film.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's
Turn it down.
very
Yeah.
flattering to think that this will make her famous.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll
I'll
take
walk
it.
down the street, and as soon as I order in a Starbucks, they're going to go, oh, you're the ghost voice from
The
Frame.
ghost voice, yeah, yeah.
Everywhere, yeah, signing autographs. Yeah.
Especially after you get through puberty, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, which is more of a challenge? I'll do that.
I'm going to ask because I will admit I did some research looking up your names on IMDb. So
Hmm.
now, after some of the information you give me, I'm wondering just how correct that information on there is. Because this has, Sam, like this shows as your debut film.
That isn't totally true. No, that's interesting.
It
No,
shows
no,
that you do a lot of additional cast stuff, working in editing and some other things like that. But
yeah,
this
that's
is your
true.
first film listed on
Is there
IMDb.
a different like website for pornography?
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah, good point.
Yeah. What's
Glad we
your
got to the
name?
bottom of that. Yeah.
It's the
No,
Sam Schlenker. Yeah.
yeah, Schleicher works,
Yeah.
actually. I
It's
didn't have
it's
to change my
yeah,
name
it's
to the
enough.
stage
It's
name. It's
enough.
right there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's close enough. The SCHL, you're in,
Yeah, I get that.
nominative determinism. Anyway, no, no, it's not really. I mean, I haven't I haven't done a feature before. But yeah, I mean, I went to film school and made a handful of shorts there. Made co-directed a short soon after that, and then another one, and then this. I kind of took a couple year break because basically um, after college, this I think is probably a common experience among people who go to film school, especially people who want to direct stuff. Is shockingly you graduate as one of you know thousands of directing majors who graduate every year, and you're like, who wants to give me a movie? And then you look around and there's nothing, and people are like, no, do you have any other skills that you can actually translate anywhere? And I kind of ended up finding myself getting a job editing at a opening and closing titles company. So I was working on like title sequences for movies and TV shows for about 7 years. And so I in that time was making some short films on the side. But this actually was, I really wanted to make this because I ended up stopping doing working at the title studio. And this was kind of me like, I want to in this little bit of time just make this thing that I've had on the mind for now 5 years, and and kind of did that. So no, but I haven't done a feature or anything. It's not like yeah,
Okay.
Yet.
no, but it was the biggest I had made since college. That's the answer.
Okay. And kind of like on the same level with you, Craig, it shows that you did a lot of acting for over a number of years, so a lot of television series spots and everything, and then kind of just disappeared for a few years. And I think you kind
Yeah.
of answered that. It sounds like you went into teaching.
Yeah, it was like I remembered in it was the year 2000 and I got, I was like I got out here and I was pretty I moved out here 25 years ago, and things were, it's like the opposite of your average dramatic arc of an actor where they get to town and they're like they don't know anybody, and then at the end of it, like there they are in front of David Fincher or Joss Whedon or whatever, and that was like happened really quick. I was like in front of David Fincher and Joss Whedon, and then like 5 years later I was in front of nobody. It's just like I kept and my agents kept saying, "Oh, I got the casting director called and they said like they that you gave the best reading that they'd ever seen in their life, and you're not getting the part." And I'm like, great, that's fantastic. Like, because what you pay the bills with is praise. And they were like, oh, well, you were so great, but the lead actress is 6 foot. And how tall are you? I'm like, not 6 foot. Like I'm just hitting the just hitting 5'7". So a lot of it was, disappointment. But it ended up, yeah, but I did get a lead role in like 2000, and I'm like, okay, this is it. You got a lead role in a film. I thought it was well done. Had a couple of, people that I had known, like William Catt, Greatest American Hero, and Barbara Crampton, who was, a lot of genre stuff, Reanimator and You're Next and that kind of thing. But I think it went to a couple festivals and it was never like released. And then, being a few years after Good Will Hunting, I said, okay, well, Matt Damon, right? Ben Affleck, you want to make it happen, you got to make it happen yourself. So I had written and produced and directed a feature. It was around 2002, 2003. And again, it was the same kind of thing with the other one, which was called Learning to Surf. Went to a couple festivals, won a couple of things, and then, didn't get distribution. And I had a girlfriend at the time was like, hey, there's a teacher shortage. And I was like, what's that? And so, I kind of, started. And it's funny because as soon as I started going into like, taking classes to become a teacher, I started booking all these parts. But like, once they stopped, I'd get like a couple of day, like a 1 day thing on ER or something like that. And then I'm like, all right, anything else? Anything else? Anybody going once going back to school? And then, I went to teaching. And I kind of left when I was around 30. And then when I was around 40, I talked to my wife. I said, hey, what would you think if I like tried acting again? And she was like, what's that? Because we had just had a child and she's like, what's that? But to her, credit, she was like, okay, let's sure, give it a shot. And for 2 years, I worked almost, I think I did like 40 things in 2 years, but the word work sometimes like gives the sense that you're getting paid, and a lot of it was not that, but I remember hearing someone say, don't try to become friends with Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg has enough friends, become friends with the next Steven Spielberg. So I was like, okay, that'll be, film school. It's California. So, met a lot of people like Sam who were, clearly very talented and young and hungry. Can I call you a hungry Sam? Is that okay?
It's totally.
Yeah. But what was funny was like, I think the only paid work I got out of it, there was a film teacher. I don't know if it was USC or I think it might have been USC, but I think there was like they had one of their student film festivals, and like every other student film I was in, and then the teacher was like, "What the hell is this guy?" And he was also a director, And he was doing, it was like a Lifetime movie that he like let me audition for, and I got the role in that. But none of the students ever hired me, but the teacher did. So it's like, okay, something came out of it. But then after a couple of years, my wife was like, so, I said, okay. Um, and it's the kind of thing too. I think what happens in life is you like, you have two, the metaphor. You got two plants, and one of them you give all the best sunlight and all the water and all the fertilizer, and it just doesn't go anywhere. And then you've got like this thing that's in the shade and the dirty, and it just grows up like Jack and the Beanstalk. And after the teaching stuff, I had a lot of people wanting tutoring, and then it just sort of built and built and built, and then it was like, okay, so you know,
Yeah.
um, yeah,
And I can kind of relate that on a different level as, all of us being artistic types, coming out of school and going, okay, this is what I'd really like to do. Got to pay the bills, got to eat.
yeah, 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 yeah.
It
And it's
creates a lot of
essentially it's
competition.
yeah, and it's also a forced audience, just like doing plays. You got the people, they have to sit there and look at you, even if they decided, oh, I didn't, this is not a good play. They're stuck. Intermission they can sneak out. But yeah, um, but yeah, no. So it's like I always you know, like I told Sam, it's like you've got something else, just pick up the phone. I'm there.
So kind of going along
Yeah.
those lines, we
Uh-huh.
got framed as a short.
Right.
Have you ever looked at trying to do more with that movie?
Um, uh, kind of. I don't know. So to be totally honest, it was hard to think of ways to take that beyond. Yeah, I think it's 7 minutes, not including credits. The last beat of it, where it ends up going after the final photo that he picks up, was a challenge, which was like, where on earth can you possibly go with this so specific? But the kind of absurdist quasi parody kind of thing. Certainly, or maybe it could be a component to a silly, more absurd feature. But I don't think I could just do
2 hours
uh,
and 20 minutes of
expositional photos. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we've a friend and I we every time we think of a silly joke that would be on the level of like the some of the photos and reversals that go on in this. We come up with something and we go, all right, well, yeah, put that in the file with our eventual John Wick parody film. It's like, which no idea why it's John Wick parody, but like that, that kind of thing. Like someday we'll make some kind of Naked Gun or Airplane or something, something which would be very fun. And so who knows?
yeah.
I think a John Wick parody would be well received, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that now that
you
there's
know,
no more John Wicks, yeah,
I this is just now me just trying out bits. So I had this idea recently of making a John Wick musical on Broadway and calling it Wicked, which is just spelled like wicked, and and just and just seeing how many people you trick into coming to it.
yeah. Well, it's not copyright infringement. You,
No,
you
no, it's
what you're
Wicked.
doing.
Yeah,
There's an apostrophe,
very, very small.
but it's not
Yeah,
apostrophe D. It's apostrophe ed, and it's
it's
a
ED. Yeah,
very
it's got
small.
to be.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm grammatically correct on this. Anyway, um,
So I'll share you a little story that kind of goes along with all this. There is a
uh,
game developer who creates tabletop RPGs, and his name is John Wick. True life.
ooh,
He
uh-huh.
actually approached the studios and everything that were doing John Wick and said, wouldn't it be great to come out with a tabletop RPG for your world of John Wick created by John Wick? And they requested such a high dollar amount for licensing. He's like, there's absolutely no way we can do that. But
yeah.
Wow.
John Wick wanted to create a game about John Wick.
I
And
think if that
you
was
would
your
play it
game,
in. You'd have to play it in the bathroom with a candle, and it would be a John Wick. You would have to light the wick of the candle in the John. So
oh
it
yeah,
just keeps going.
oh
Yeah,
very good. Man, there are layers to that.
yeah.
Um,
So
Yeah.
many. Yeah, it stopped being funny after the second, but that doesn't mean you don't put a third in there. Yeah.
So let's go a little bit more with the film right now. You were saying Film Quest was your world premiere.
that's right.
Well, obviously that was the start of the film festival circuit for you. Um,
Yeah.
we're actually a month or so out from when we saw that because of scheduling through the holidays and all that. And other issues. But what future does the short have out there on the festival circuit?
Well, right now I'm waiting on a few festivals. So as of now, there is not another one that I can confirm that it'll screen in.
Okay.
I do think that I'll say that I feel like we've done, well, I've done. I'll take the blame for this. I feel like I haven't explained the film very well, but I think that's maybe for the best. I think I hope that if you're listening or watching this, you'll just go, oh yeah, that sounds silly, and I just want to go in, without totally knowing everything because that's I think the surprise is part of it. What I was going to say is because it's a film that it plays with expectations a little bit. I think that the optimal place for it to show is in a festival with a captive audience of people who don't know where it's going. So seeing it at FilmQuest was both very nerve-wracking because I had never seen it with an audience before, and it does take about 2 minutes before there's a kind of specific moment where the goal was everyone gets on board and goes, oh, here's where it's headed. But those 2 minutes of no laughter leading up to it, even by design, were so nerve-wracking, and it was such a relief when people laughed, and I thought it played great, and it was really encouraging, and obviously FilmQuest is a like really really fun audience and kind of a environment for it. But yeah, so right now still waiting on some things, but FilmQuest was kind of I was unsure of how many I wanted to send to and where, whether we would release it online, when we release it online, and seeing it with an audience kind of confirmed our suspicion that that was the way to do it. And so, probably a full year of festivals before figuring out some kind of online release for it.
Okay.
But I would say, oh yeah, go ahead.
So what you're telling me is you did not do a cast screening with Craig?
Yeah.
Uh, well,
It's
it
like a
is just
thousand
great.
seat theater, and we're in the middle. And I'm like, Sam,
uh,
could you sit a few, like, you're crowding me.
we watched it when we were doing ADR. I don't know. I'm sorry. I feel like I let you down there. I'm sorry I didn't get a
No,
giant
that's
theater for just the two
Yeah,
of us.
yeah. Or just like we'll sit in the front seat of a car, and it's like a two-seat
Yeah.
theater, and very comfy. Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I remembered because I didn't want, I wanted to like see um even like the film that I had done like 20 years ago. There was a festival in LA, and I was happy because I wanted to have a whole thing where, but I didn't want to rent out a theater because I just broke because I had just done the movie. But I was like, oh, cool, and I think, you want that, but like, um, it's not likely. I mean, I guess in LA, I don't know, but I I'm okay.
You know, at the risk of you know, uh, excluding the crew, we did have a like 15-person crew on this thing. This isn't just Craig. Craig and I didn't just shoot it in with an iPhone, uh,
Yeah.
and the crew is like, I mean, everyone is like a stone cold pro on this thing. I mean, the cinematographer, actually we had kind of two because one, Wojciech, was going to shoot it and ended up getting, this was, he ended up getting COVID right before shooting it. And so he had kind of done all of the prep work up to the day before, which is a lot of the work. It's a lot of cinematography is not is the planning and the shot listing and all this stuff that I mean, the lights were ordered and everything, but and then he just couldn't be there on the day. And then the great thing was that the first AC, D'Angelo Harding, was is a really good cinematographer in his own right, and just basically just picked it up. It was like totally seamless, which a key crew member dropping out the day before would normally give me a heart attack. And it was just like they're total pros. Noah Danes on production design, making a lot of these custom props. I mean, we mentioned the one giant photograph that needed to be made or painting that needed to be made. But there are several that are,
Just
there's
driving
like
by a garage sale. Oh, cool. I need one of those.
I wanted to keep that one, and my wife was not a fan of. I was like, we have a big wall, and she's like, no, you're not gonna that thing not in our house. So, um,
it's a great
which she's
frame
right.
for our new TV.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do have one of the newspapers up at the top there. There's the newspaper
Oh,
with the photo.
nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, which is my
Yeah.
favorite gag in the
Is it the
short. But
happy one or the unhappy one?
this is the unhappy one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, but like so there was just like an awesome crew on this thing. I mean, and it is ultimately that is what it's about. Is you can't, one person cannot make even a short film. It's so collaborative and so many good people involved on this one.
So let's move beyond Framed. And this time we'll
Uh,
flip it up to Craig to start off. Can you tell us about anything you've got coming up that you're working
Yeah, I mean,
on?
honestly, no. I mean, I hate to say, but like, yeah, I mean, the last thing that I did, that like the last feature that I had a lead in, there was three. There was the one before the one I made, and then the one I made, and then there was one around the time, I think a little bit before yours. But again, it was the same kind of thing where I thought it was well done, and I was not any longer naive enough to think, oh, if you're the lead of something, then you're good, then you're just good for life, But it was the same thing where they shopped it around and it just played at a couple things and won some things, and then like it was temporarily, it was up on like Freevee or one of those, I feel like it was IMDb, one of those things where um you can at least tell people, okay, you can see it if you want, like the other two you can't even see, even if somebody wanted to see. It's like and I never quite understand that, how you put, $100,000 into a film, and then, I could say 20 years ago when there wasn't like the distribution there is now, but VOD or streaming or something, I feel like even if you're making, pennies on the dollar, it's penny. I don't know. But, yeah, that was the last big thing I did. And then there were a couple of people that, have there's a handful of things that I shot that I don't think are And there's one guy that shot, I think it was about 7 years ago, that every now and again we got an email working on the film. I'm like, you're not working on the film. And I'm not gonna name it because I don't think it's gonna come out. But no, but look me up online if you've got a script.
so that's if you're hearing that, I mean, Craig is so good. And I mean, he's so good in this. And like, so if you're, as he said, if you're either Spielberg possible
Yeah,
or the next Spielberg possible,
yeah,
hit
yeah,
Craig up because he's really,
sure.
really good.
Well, I mean, even here we're seeing a bit of his comedic timing, even though he's talked about others. Just in the responses, you can see, Craig, how you have that timing to, oh, the response. Like,
Yeah, yeah. I remembered there was a thing I did. It was a TV show, it was a spin-off of Party of Five. And the scene was Jennifer Garner, and she was, I never like back, oh, like nobody knew who she was back then. I was like, oh, that's so cool. But it was like this moment where it was this comedic thing where there's this woman that really kind of like, I say something nice and she says something very rude and mean, and just this kind of like, this take, and then I cut, and I thought it was the director's like, okay, that was about 20 seconds. Give it about one. And I go, oh yeah, I wasn't the lead there. I was just the guy that has a little, but so, with Sam, he's giving me some room to ham it up.
Again, you,
yeah.
I like that it seems like you say it's ham. One man's ham is another man's underplaying because I think that's,
Yeah.
so again, you play it so tragically, which is, that's what I recognized the first time we worked together, which is like, oh yeah, he's so, it's still grounded somehow, and and that makes it so much more fun.
Well, I think too, I think, when you work with somebody more than once, and there's a trust there that, like, if you do a bunch of stuff, um, like I've always heard about, John Malkovich, that each take is going to be, very, very different. And obviously the good actors, every take will be different, but like really wildly, different from the one he did before. And I think a lot of actors are going to be maybe intimidated by that, or nervous, but I'm like, my God, I would love that. But then you see, like, I would imagine if you're directing it or editing it, like it's either going to be amazing or horrifying, trying to put it all together into, a cohesive, whole. But I knew, like, when we would do adjustments on, like, there were certain things, and I was just remembering yesterday, there was something with drool where it was like a like
Yeah,
salivating or something like that.
it did get
Oh,
used, I
okay,
don't
yeah.
think. Oh,
there was a close up where it was like I was looking at a certain thing when I was supposed to be, and it was like it got to a level, and I remember it was like I don't know if it was like the drool was like a little bit coffee, so it was like
it
brown.
was. Oh, yes. Oh, that's a story. Okay,
Yeah.
so
But just
yeah,
looking, yeah, and looking at the monitor and going, I trust that this is gonna like somehow fit into what's happening because it was,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So I mean, it's interesting. I mean, this, and I think all comedy stuff. So much is in the editing. There's so. I mean, this was a lot of work to edit it together, especially because it's something that where no one is ever like, here's what the I'm going to tell you about what's
yeah,
funny about this. We have someone just telling you. It's like it is all. It's almost silent. He only says words after it's long since been revealed.
yeah.
What the pattern is. What the game of it is. But there's a moment where he's looking at one of the photographs, and it's of a food, and I as we were shooting, it's like, oh, it'd be really great if he's like crying, and then just like a glistening little bit of drool came down, and then of course you're shooting like, oh, or well, let's get in really close on a macro lens, and let's do a little bit, do more drool, so it's like he's just so much drool, and then in between takes, for some reason, I don't know why you thought to do this, Craig, but you like had an iced coffee on the side, and you drank the iced coffee and then filled your mouth with the like drool water that you were going to be drooling, and proceeded to like barf brown sludge during the take, which was so absolutely foul. And of
It was
course,
repulsive. Yeah, I
it was
mean,
it
you would
was
have lost.
horrifying.
Yeah,
And look, the thing is, it never even went in the edit for a second. But watching the monitor and just being like, this is the grossest thing I've ever seen. And we were on a macro lens. I mean, we're like, we're right up
yeah,
in your
it
mouth.
was so much more. Yeah, that's like, yeah.
Well, this gives a good feeling what the movie's about. But okay, how about for you, Sam? What
uh,
what projects do you have? I know you're going to be really kind of pushing this out to the festivals and everything, but what
mhm.
other projects can people be looking forward from you?
Yeah, so I actually am finishing up on another short, that's not totally similar, but it's actually kind of a horror short, I think, with a bit of a comedic bent, that's called Seance for the Gram. And that I'm almost done with. So hopefully that'll be in festival soon. Possibly by the time you maybe have a chance to see Framed, it will also be in festivals, and you'll just be like, oh wow, I'm such a fan. I can just, look, this guy has two whole movies. You
That's a
know,
combined 14 minutes of entertainment.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't know where to go with that. I'm sorry. I'm doing a doing a bad bit here. Anyway, the but I think it's really good. I think it's scary and funny and crazy, and I think I like when short films and films are kind of surprising and generous in a way where like I love when stuff just keeps giving you more, and kind of sometimes gets a little more ambitious than you expect it to, and I think Framed does that in a way, and I think this new one does too. And it has for a 10-minute short film, it has 100 visual effect shots, so that's something. Um, but yeah, and then I have a feature script kind of in the ballpark of that short. So the hope is that maybe someone would go, "Oh, 14 minutes of entertainment and a script that I can read for 2 hours. All right, I see where this is headed." But yeah, that's that.
Okay. So this will be a little bit different question. I usually ask everybody now because we
Mhm.
got Craig, your mainstay has been acting, and Sam, you came out, like you said, from school as a director. So
Mhm.
looking back through your past, what was it for each of you? And I'll let you decide who gets to go first on this. What is it that drew you into the film industry?
Um, I mean, mine's pretty simple. Like I said, I didn't do. I mean, I think I was in an elementary school play, but I didn't do anything. You know, it was in central New Jersey. So there wasn't like I wasn't in New York or LA with access to things to even audition for. But it was just sort of having my mind blown by films, just, like realizing that there was something involved, some kind of magic in films and specifically acting. Um, I mentioned that the film Five Easy Pieces, where you're watching near the end of it, Jack Nicholson has kind of got there's the, I don't know if it's his dad or somebody's in this wheelchair, and he's just, and because when you're a kid, you're like, at first you're like, okay, there's Santa Claus and there's an Easter Bunny, and then well, they don't exist. But you watch movies and you're like, well, okay, these things aren't real, and you get that. But you're like, well, what is acting? Is it just pretending like, oh, I'm mad and I'm happy, But then I'd see certain, performances, and, like De Niro in Taxi Driver stands out, where you're like, this isn't pretending, like this person is, or I remember like Brando in Last Tango in Paris. Like, you're like, they're in a different place. It's almost shocking that they were, that a camera captured what's happening and just thinking that is an amazing, like profoundly moving thing, and thinking, well, you know, um, it's my parents' money to waste, so I'll just go to college for that, Because as Sam knows, when you spend a lot of money on education, then you're guaranteed a job in that yeah,
Yeah.
especially the arts, yeah. No, but it was
Mhm.
just being like that, just thinking, okay, this is, and being like, I think anything that's both terrifying and exhilarating, roller coastery kind of a gamut of emotions, like just, all plays and the like. Just, being able to be creative, and I don't know, like it was just that, I think a lot of people who end up being actors, I'm sure, have that, just draw towards, I feel I have all these feelings inside, and to be able to channel them and tell stories, and like Sam.
Yeah, not dissimilar. I mean, um, I kind of actually have memories. Like, I think I was 5 years old and in kindergarten, and a teacher. It was kind of like the "What do you want to do when you grow up" thing. And I think I like had a drawing of me holding a VHS, and I said I want to make a movie. So like I was definitely it was definitely from a really young age. But then just growing up, I remember liking to draw, liking to write. I did music, and kind of all these things. And I think being at 14 or so, I remember being, well, there are all these things that I like doing, and I don't really want to give one up. But if I went into film, I could just kind of combine all of them. Like, it'd just be all of those things at once. And so I think I kind of right around like 13 or 14 was like, I want to make movies, and drew a similar drawing of myself holding a VHS, but about the same level of drawing. I didn't improve from the
Yeah.
ages of 5 to 14, um, and
Clearly it
but
was worse.
it might have been worse. Yeah, I knew enough to overthink at that point.
Yeah.
But I remember then like being in high school and making videos with friends, or short films with friends. And even before that, like claymation and it's Lego stop motion and all, so it kind of was always there. But I think the big thing I remember in high school was being, once you're kind of in high school age, you're allowed to watch most movies, or a good proportion of great movies are now kind of on the table. And so I had the two DVD at a time Netflix plan, I had one of my own. I saved up so I could have it, and I was just like watching, a movie every other day, after school, and just like every classic I could possibly get a hold of. That was kind of thing. So I think of being a teenager and just watching, so many movies, and just being really, really excited about it. And I think I'm sad that I can't. I feel like I don't do that as much as I even did then. I'm like, man, there's still so many that I need to see, and wish I had that two DVD a day or two DVD at a time plan. They don't even offer it anymore.
Yeah.
Um,
You're forced to choose rather than like spending an hour and a half building up your queue and then going to sleep.
Yeah, and the queue always stayed the same. It was just, oh, I want to rent Terry Gilliam's Brazil. Oh, whoop, just put it up at the top, and then the same two
Yeah.
through 25 were always the same. It
Yeah.
was just
They're
which one I
never
would put
they're
at the
never
top.
getting
Yeah,
anywhere. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So the next question I do is that I've always asked people, and this one again, because we got from acting and that, If you had someone come to you now and said, I want to be an actor or I want to be a filmmaker, what piece of advice would you give them?
I remember the best answer I ever got. I remember I was working on a TV show called The Handler, and it didn't last. It was a good show. It didn't last very long, but the main guy was Joey Pants, Joe
Oh yeah.
Pantoliano. And I remember there was me and this other actor, and we were being driven from the little trailer village to the set with him, and we were kind of chatting him up a little bit. And the other actor said, "So, like what advice? We're kind of young, we're starting out. Like, what advice would you get? You've had all this great work." And he said, he goes, "Work really hard and then get lucky." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, it's pretty much." Yeah. So it's like, it's not always in your hands, but like I feel like, increase your chances. Um, yeah, I mean, I think getting, just doing stuff. I think what unfortunately what happens when you get older is that like you do have, whether it's a family or a business or something like, there's just more obligations, and when you're younger, explore. And I remembered moving out here for the purpose of acting, of having a career in this. And I'm generally, if I'm comfortable with people, I'm great, but otherwise I can be quite shy and introverted. And coming out here and knowing only one person, and I felt like I was kind of taking up too much of her time. But like I remember 6 months in, I wasn't getting out of the house, and I'm thinking, well, this is not, sitting in an apartment every night, like cooking mac and cheese and, like watching movies. It's not gonna, I got to figure out. So I would just say, just do stuff, meet people, um, uh, uh, study, work, and then get lucky. Thanks, Joey Pants.
Hearing him say it is
Yeah,
powerful.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, I can't do an impression of him saying it.
No, let's not.
No, I thought that's where we were headed.
Yeah,
No,
well,
no, I mean, so it feels silly to be giving advice only in that, like, it's not like obviously here we are, it's a short film. I haven't even made a feature, so like, take this with a grain of salt. But one thing that I think is that I've been lucky enough with, especially through editing and with title sequence stuff, is I have met some and talked to some filmmakers who are more established. So in the big thing I've learned from them, just in talking with them a little bit, is they really really like movies and really like watching movies of all kinds, going back a ways. So like I think I have run into both when I was a student and running into current students. And a lot of times they'll be like, well, like I don't really like watching movies, but I would make them. It's like, yeah, I don't know if that's how it works. Like I think you need to love them and watch them and learn from them. And in a similar way, if you're a horror fan, you can't. I think maybe you learn something by not only watching horror stuff, but your favorite horror director is probably learned something from Lawrence of Arabia, or so, like I don't like. Do you know what I mean? Like I think that's just the sense I got, was that a lot of filmmakers they're almost like encyclopedias of film history, which is really cool, and they can pull from all these cool sources, going back through the history of film. So that's the first thing, and then the second thing is, uh, especially if you're making your own thing, which you should just do, make something that you want to see, and especially on a short, there's no one there to tell you uh, what it should be. Like, I think take advantage of the total independent style, and make something that would be like, what would be really cool? What would I want to see? Because that isn't the case as movies and projects get bigger. So it's just fun. Take a risk, and if you think it's cool, try it. That would be my advice.
Mm. And Craig, what you were saying reminds me of one thing I always heard is that what luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's funny. I remembered it just on the flip side of it. I remember there was I had a friend of mine, and we kind of came up around the same time. And when I did the one film I directed, he was the other lead actor. I cast him in, and he was telling me he went to like a SAG screening, and I don't know what the movie was, but like it was a Johnny Depp movie, and Johnny Depp was there. And then afterward, he took a few questions, and somebody was like, "Hey, how do you make it?" And he's like. And Johnny Depp had said something like, "Oh, as long as you don't give up, you'll make it." My friend was like, "F you." You know what I mean? Like, no, you won't. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not, you got like Nightmare on Elm Street when you were 19, and then, like it doesn't work for everyone, like you have to have that, the hard work and the luck meet, but you cannot like if you buy enough lottery tickets, you will win the lottery. No, you won't. You will spend a lot of money. You might get a $20 scratcher, but like so, yeah. I mean, you work at, some people don't work at all and they get lucky, and some people work really, really hard and they don't. So it's like, I think to piggyback on what Sam was saying, if you're enjoying it, then it's not time wasted. You know what I mean? If you're just like, well, I want to get famous and I want to make a lot of money, then and you don't, that doesn't happen, then you're a failure. But you know, the journey and not the destination and all those cliches. But yeah, enjoy it.
So I'll give a little bit of a success story on that, that definition of luck. Years ago, I started writing reviews of tabletop games, and I got picked up by a local magazine that's there, hired me and said, "Yeah, go ahead, write for us." And one day they give me a call and they go, "Hey, we got this opportunity to go to this new film festival. We know you do game reviews. Do you do movie reviews?" And my response was, "I do now."
Yeah.
And you can probably guess which festival that is.
It'll start with an F.
Mhm.
And it does lead to things. So kind of closing up here because we've been talking for about an hour, but I want to give you guys a final chance to kind of shout out any last thank yous, uh, anything, final words you'd like to give to the audience. I mean, I kind of
Yeah.
jokingly tell people this is your chance to practice your Oscar, award speech.
Yeah. So Sam, you talk for 30 seconds, then I'll start playing like orchestra
Oh,
music.
please
Yeah.
do. Yeah. Um, no, no, I mean, boy, I'm always bad at this. Just, you know, um, thank you to everybody who was involved in Framed, of which, again, was a small team, but it was a team. And I neglected to mention Robert Mai, who did the music, which is huge, actually, and Grant Mewers, who did the sound. They both actually this did get into a European music and sound festival, so they've gotten their respect, for their craft
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
But like that was really big as
Yeah.
well. And yeah, just everybody involved in the film just absolutely crushed it, and I'm really really proud of it. And then yeah, I mean, I mentioned Seance for the Gram, the next short. Be on the lookout for it. If you like Framed, you might like it, or you might not. That's a weird way. This is a bad Oscar speech already. I think you'd like it. I like it a lot. And then oh, there's the music. Oh, and it's my mom. And and but then last thing, just because it's on brand, I was trying to think of things, tabletop gaming, dark comedy. I was trying to kind of find the intersection. I am a co-host of a podcast called Godzilla Evangelists, that is about Godzilla. So if you're a fan of Godzilla movies, we've covered every single one. So check that out as well.
There we go.
Yeah.
I'll admit I was doing this interview with I think it was last year, and we ended up spending like 15 minutes on Godzilla minus one because the two guys had seen it the night before.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's
Craig,
good.
Yeah, it is a good one. Yeah, I had, I showed it to my daughter and she was like, a Godzilla movie, Dad. I was like, I got this on good authority. And afterwards she was like, okay, she'll let me know. Yeah, no, I mean, I obviously, Sam, I want to thank you. Like at this point in my career, if you could call it that, I answer the phone, if it rings. All of the legwork and stuff, I think is kind of behind me, but maybe, when I hit 60, I'll enter acting again. I talk about yeah, exactly. Because when I have if my daughter goes some other place far away. She goes to college the other side of the country. I'm gonna have that empty nest, um, suicidal depression kind of thing. So, I'll keep myself busy with some short films. But it was a really, great experience. And it's always tough, I gotta say, Sam, coming at, something that you haven't done. I imagine that people who are addicted to cocaine and then they give it up and then they do a really good day of great cocaine. They're like, oh, this is I wish I hadn't given this up. It's probably a terrible metaphor. I probably shouldn't go into that, but in any event, it was a lot of fun and everybody was so professional. And again, it was like you're renting out a house and this crew of 15 people. On the page, it felt really small, but I was like, oh my God, this is then you look at it on screen and you think, yeah, this is the difference between just putting your phone on a tripod and having somebody with the smoke machine and the other person doing that and the bounce board and to my wife and daughter as well. They're always they're very supportive with their both their time and their patience with me being out. And my wife, by the way, was the one in some of the pictures who you know leaves me and takes the dog, and so
Hmm.
I thank her in real life for not doing that. I already gave a shout out to my daughter, also named Sam, so it's surrounding myself with good Sams. Um, but yeah, I don't discount anything, and I enjoyed so much. So who knows what the future holds. Yeah.
Okay. I did forget to ask one thing. Where, if people want to follow your work, where can they find you on social media?
Well, for me, it's just CraigWatkinson.com at this point because I've transitioned to tutoring business. It's mainly that. Like it used to be all the domain. It's the same name, but it's gone from like all reels and clips and all that kind of thing to that. But it's the same. The business is the same contact information. So if anybody um, needs an actor or a tutor, it's the same place.
Yeah. Oh, check out his teaching reel. It's some
Yeah,
high
yeah,
end
like
stuff
that's
on there.
wrong. That's why I'm crying. The dramatic tutor. Yeah.
Um, yeah, samschlenker.com has my work. I'm also at SJ Schlenker on Instagram, and that'll what
And
we'll
the name
keep
of your
posted on.
podcast again?
Oh, and that's called Godzilla Evangelists.
Godzilla
I
Um,
also have
Adventures.
like, a YouTube channel too, like with a lot of full short films and clips and that kind of thing. So yeah.
All right. Well, thank you both for joining me here.
Thank you,
Uh,
man. That's
Thank you
it's
so
been
much.
fun. Yeah.
yeah.
Really, really a pleasure.
And I'll reach out to everybody and say, hey, if you like this, I mean, this really does give a good taste of what you could expect in watching the movie Framed. Just kind of the interplay
Yeah,
going on. It has a lot of nice little twists and turns, a lot of fun. It's something like Sam was saying, really should be seen in the theater. So if you see it come up at a local festival, get out there, support the independent filmmakers because there's a lot of great stuff coming out. They are the voice of the future that what we're seeing in film. You know, support the artists. And if you like this particularly, please like this, share it out to people you think that would be interested. And if you subscribe, that just helps us to do more of what we're doing here. And finally, again, thank you once again, Craig. Thank you, Sam. Great film, and I look forward to seeing more from you guys.
Oh yeah,
oh,
hope to
thank you
hope to
so
be back.
much.
Yeah, absolutely.